There's a question that echoes in the minds of millions every single day. Why can't I break my bad habits? Why do I keep making the same promises to myself only to break them again and again? Why does it feel like no matter how hard I try, I always end up back where I started, stuck, frustrated, and ashamed? If you're tired of failing at bad habits, you're not alone. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're simply human. We live in a world obsessed with instant change. We want to quit smoking overnight, lose weight in a week, become productive in a day, and transform our lives with a single decision. We are bombarded with stories of overnight success, miracle cures and quick fixes. But the truth is, real change, lasting change, almost never happens in an instant. Let me ask you, how many times have you tried to quit a bad habit only to fall back into it? How many times have you made a New Year's resolution only to abandon it by February? How many times have you told yourself, this time will be different, only to watch yourself repeat the same old patterns? If you're tired of failing, if you're tired of feeling like you'll never change, there is hope. There is a path that is gentle, patient, and almost foolproof. A path that has helped millions of people, warriors, artists, athletes, and ordinary people, break free from the habits that hold them back. This path is called Kaizen. Kaizen is the Japanese philosophy of continuous incremental improvement. It is the art of making tiny changes day after day until those changes become a tidal wave of transformation. It is the opposite of the all-or-nothing mindset. It is the antidote to the cycle of failure. Today, you're going to discover how Kaizen can help you break any bad habit, no matter how many times you've failed before. But first, let's talk about why breaking bad habits is so hard and why almost everything you've been taught about change is wrong. Let's travel back to post-war Japan, a country devastated by defeat, poverty, and destruction. Factories lay in ruins. People struggled to find hope. The world looked at Japan and saw a nation broken beyond repair. But inside those ruins, a quiet revolution was brewing. A group of engineers, led by a man named Masaki Imai, began to ask a simple question. What if we could rebuild our country? Not with grand gestures, but with tiny, almost invisible improvements? They called this philosophy Kaizen, which means change for the better. Instead of demanding perfection, Kaizen asked for progress. Instead of giant leaps, Kaizen celebrated baby steps. Factories began to change. Instead of overhauling entire systems overnight, workers were encouraged to make small daily improvements. A bolt tightened here, a process streamlined there, a new idea tested, a mistake learned from, a tiny victory celebrated. The results were miraculous. Productivity soared, quality improved, morale skyrocketed. Japan went from devastation to becoming one of the world's most innovative and prosperous nations, all because of Kaizen. But Kaizen isn't just for factories. It's for anyone who wants to change their life, one small step at a time. Let's meet Yuki, a young woman living in Tokyo. Yuki had a problem that millions can relate to. She was addicted to her phone. Every morning she woke up and reached for her device. She scrolled through social media, checked emails, watched videos, sometimes for hours before even getting out of bed. She knew it was a bad habit. She knew it was making her anxious, distracted, and unhappy. She tried everything to quit, deleting apps, setting timers, making promises to herself, but nothing worked. Every time she tried to quit cold turkey, she failed. Yuki felt hopeless. She started to believe that she was weak, that she lacked willpower, that she would never change. But then, one day, she stumbled upon the concept of Kaizen. She read about how Japanese companies had transformed themselves with tiny, daily improvements. She wondered, could this work for me? Instead of trying to quit her phone addiction overnight, Yuki decided to make the smallest change she could imagine. She put her phone on the other side of the room before going to bed. That was it. No grand declarations, no impossible goals, just one tiny change. The next morning, when her alarm went off, she had to get out of bed to turn it off. She noticed that she didn't immediately start scrolling. She felt a little more awake, a little more present. Encouraged, Yuki made another tiny change. She decided to spend just 1 minute each morning stretching before picking up her phone. 1 minute, that's all. It felt so easy, so doable, that she didn't resist. Day after day, Yuki added tiny improvements. She put a book next to her bed and read 1 page before checking her phone. She set a timer for 5 minutes of phone-free time after waking up. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her mornings began to change. She felt less anxious, more focused, more in control. After a month, Yuki realized she was spending less than half the time on her phone in the mornings. She hadn't quit cold turkey. She hadn't relied on willpower. She had simply used Kaizen. Her bad habit was breaking, not with a bang, but with a whisper. But why does Kaizen work when everything else fails? To understand why Kaizen is so powerful, we need to look at how habits are formed and how they are broken. Most people believe that breaking a bad habit requires massive willpower, heroic effort, and dramatic change. But neuroscience tells a different story. Habits are formed in the brain's basal ganglia, a region responsible for automatic behaviors. When you repeat an action over and over, your brain creates a neural pathway, making the behavior easier and more automatic each time. This is why bad habits are so hard to break. They are literally wired into your brain. When you try to quit a bad habit overnight, your brain resists. It sees the sudden change as a threat. It triggers stress, anxiety, and cravings. That's why most people fail. They are fighting their own biology. Kaizen works because it bypasses the brain's resistance. By making changes so small that they seem almost trivial, you avoid triggering the brain's alarm system. You slip past the gatekeeper of your habits. Let's look at the science. Dr. B.J. Fogg, a behavior scientist at Stanford University, has shown that the key to lasting change is starting small. So small that it feels almost ridiculous. He calls this tiny habits. Want to start flossing? Start with 1 tooth. Want to start exercising? Do 1 push-up. The reason this works is simple. Small changes are easy to repeat. Repetition creates new neural pathways. Over time, those tiny changes add up to massive transformation. Kaizen is not about willpower. It's about momentum. Let's return to Yuki. After mastering her mornings, she decided to tackle another bad habit: snacking on junk food at work. Instead of banning all snacks, she made 1 tiny change. She put a bowl of fruit on her desk. The first day, she ate 1 piece of fruit before reaching for chips. The next day, she added a glass of water. The day after, she swapped her afternoon soda for green tea. Each change was so small that it didn't feel like a sacrifice. But over time, her cravings for junk food faded. Her energy improved. Her confidence grew. Yuki realized that Kaizen wasn't just about breaking bad habits. It was about building a new identity. She was no longer the person who failed at change. She was the person who improved every single day. But Kaizen is not just for individuals. It's a philosophy that can transform families, teams, and entire communities. Let's look at another example. In a small town in America, a group of parents wanted to help their children develop better study habits. Instead of demanding hours of homework each night, they started with 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of focused study every day. The children resisted at first, but 5 minutes felt easy. Soon, 5 minutes became 10, then 15, then 30. Grades improved. Confidence soared. The habit stuck, not because of pressure, but because of Kaizen. The secret of Kaizen is this: small changes, repeated consistently, create unstoppable momentum. But there's one more lesson, a lesson that makes Kaizen truly powerful. Kaizen is not just about breaking bad habits. It's about becoming the kind of person who never gives up. When you embrace Kaizen, you stop seeing failure as the end. You start seeing it as feedback. You stop judging yourself for not being perfect. You start celebrating every tiny victory. This is the golden path to resilience. Let's return to Yuki one last time. After months of practicing Kaizen, Yuki looked back at her journey. She realized that she had not only broken her phone addiction and improved her eating habits, she had become more patient, more compassionate, more confident. She no longer feared failure. She saw every setback as an opportunity to learn, to adjust, to improve. She started applying Kaizen to every area of her life: her relationships, her work, her health, her dreams. She became a source of inspiration for her friends and family. They saw her transformation and wanted to know her secret. Yuki shared the wisdom of Kaizen. Start small, be patient, celebrate progress, never give up. This is the path of the Kaizen warrior. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you want to break a bad habit, don't try to change everything overnight. Don't rely on willpower alone. Don't beat yourself up for failing. Instead, ask yourself, what is the smallest change I can make today? What is one tiny step I can take right now that will move me closer to my goal? Maybe it's putting your phone in another room before bed. Maybe it's drinking one glass of water before your morning coffee. Maybe it's writing one sentence in your journal. Maybe it's taking one deep breath before reacting in anger. Whatever it is, make it so small that you can't fail. Then repeat it, day after day, week after week, month after month. Watch as those tiny changes become habits. Watch as those habits become your identity. Watch as your identity becomes your destiny. Kaizen is not a quick fix. It's a way of life. It's the path of the patient, the persistent, the resilient. It's the secret to breaking any bad habit, no matter how many times you've failed before. So, are you ready to walk the Kaizen path? Share your story in the comments. Let this community be your gold, where your struggles are not just accepted, but celebrated. Remember, you are not less because you have bad habits. You are more because you have the courage to change. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people brave enough to take the first tiny step. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, join our community, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your journey starts with one small step. This is Kaizen's easy path to break any bad habit. The choice is yours. Will you take the first step?